Hello and welcome to the session Managing Curriculum Pre-Approvals in Kuali. For this session, we're going to go ahead and have a customer present. So she is from Arizona State University. Her name is Katie Jensen, and we'll go ahead and give a quick preview of the session description slide if you want to adjust, Katie. Thank you. For this description or for this session, we're going to go ahead and have an overview of how Arizona State University manages a pre-approval process for their program requests and program changes that often includes a stop at the Board of Regents. So Katie will go ahead and walk through what the need is, as well as the solution to that need. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat or Q&A, and we'll go ahead and attend to those at the end of the session. So with that said, I'll turn it over to Katie, who will go ahead and kick it off. Thank you, Katie.
Thanks, Joni. I'm Katie Jensen Ord. I'm a curriculum coordinator at Arizona State University. I was previously the assistant director of curriculum development, but then I took a little break and had a kid, and now I'm back and excited to be working on curriculum and helping our team get Kuali all set up. So we're still in the process of implementing, but we're really excited about some of the cool stuff that we've been able to build so far. And so I wanted to share a little bit with you about what we've been working on. So ASU is huge. We have 67,000 full-time students. So we're a large institution. We're one institution of many places. So we have campuses throughout our metropolitan area here in Phoenix, but then also satellites throughout the state, and then locations elsewhere as well, including Los Angeles and Washington, D.C. So we're very spread out. And we kind of have a strong kind of top-down kind of model, even though we have many places. Our curriculum is managed kind of centrally within the provost's office. So today we're going to talk a little bit about what came up, what we needed, and what solution that Kuali was able to kind of help us with. The process of that, and then the hopeful results. So full disclosure, we have not fully implemented this, but I'm feeling pretty darn good about it. So our need is, ASU has a state requirement that all programs and degrees need to receive approval on the academic strategic plan. So we have kind of two levels of that planning process. So we have an internal plan for certificates, minors, concentrations. And then we have the big old official thing that needs to go to the State Board of Regents for approval. They are required to approve any like new degree offer, new programs that are at the degree level, and those kind of things. So we wanted to make sure that we could track that approval documentation. So previously, it is a spreadsheet. There's a spreadsheet where we write down the date that ABOR approved, the date that the provost approved, and then we can usher the implementation proposal through the rest of the steps. And so we wanted a way to build that into our system, that they have to have pre-approval before they can move on to implement the rest of the program. So here's what Kuali came up with for us. And so what we did is we set up the academic strategic plan as a content type. So these are the content types that you may be familiar with, courses and programs. So we basically took the experiences tab and it was reimagined for our pre-approval process for programs. And so this allows us to not only move our strategic plan process where people have to submit a form to request that pre-approval to actually plan a program. It also allows us to then link those. So here's what happens. The units submit an academic plan record. So that's what needs to go to essentially to the provost to say, I think you should do this. You've thought about it sufficiently and we think it's a good idea. It fits in with the mission of the institution, all that kind of stuff. They need to provide the real name and a description of that new program. And then once approved, units can move forward with an implementation request. So basically they take portions of that academic plan request to say, I want to implement this. Give me permission first. Once they get permission, they can fill out an implementation form. And then that form has all of the details. So it has the whole curriculum. It has what we might put on our catalog in terms of description and all of the extraneous stuff that comes with the catalog. So that program form also goes through our university governance process. So that's where it goes through the curriculum committees at the university level and university senate. So the way we kind of did this was users are selecting a program name from a drop down of academic plan actions, and users may select academic plans in draft. So I wanted to actually show you what that looks like. So this is our little sandbox environment. And you'll see that ours might look a little different than yours. We have this academic strategic plan component there. And so here are all the academic strategic plans that are hopefully approved. And this is of course our sandbox. So there's all kinds of test data in here, but you get the idea that these would be approved academic plan actions. And so what users would do is they would create a new academic strategic plan. And it would be like, you know, the same way that you would manage your proposal process in here. So I created one before this session here, so we'd have something to look at. So our pre-approval process here is really super basic form, really. We ask for the college and the department, and then they select whether they're requesting a new program or a new organizational unit. So programs are obviously degree programs or certificate programs, et cetera. Organizational units, they can use this system to request a new department or a new college. So that's also something that, depending on what type of change it is or what type of new action it is, it might require Board of Regents approval. So we have this nice form that kind of is really just getting super basic information about what they intend to do, where they intend to offer it, what fees are planned, and the impact on students, a general idea of the projected enrollment, credit hours, a description that kind of describes how it fits into our mission. And, you know, of course we do a lot of editing and doctoring of these kind of things before they end up at the Board of Regents, because we want to put forth our most persuasive argument why it's a good program and why it is a good suggestion. And so that's how we do that. And then the assessment plan is a big portion of what our Board of Regents is looking at. So we attach that as well. So the way we built this form, we also built in this approval type toggle that allows us to say, hey, this needs to go to ABOR. So we're going to have to sit on it until they approve it, which is Arizona Board of Regents. And then, or this can go right to the provost and he can approve it. It doesn't require that. So we can use that then in workflow, which should really help. So once that is an approved action, or even if it's in draft, that's one of the wonders of this system. When a user goes in to submit a new program request for something, they select their program level and type. And so you see we have lots of them. They would select the school and department from our filtered list, which we love. And then when they select the name of the program, this field is bringing in all of the academic plan records. So the program I created was computing, high volume data computing. You see that it's noted that it's in draft still because it's not fully approved. We have this functionality, which is very helpful to us because if something's coming down from the president or something like that, where it's super high priority, we might have to have the academic plan and programs going through concurrently. So the ability to begin to review this, even though the actual planning request is still in draft, is really helpful. And so by selecting the name of the name, it populates the degree type for us. This was a pain point previously because people would request something on the academic plan and change it by the time they got to the program proposal component. And so this just helps us ensure that the names are correct, the degree type matches what they've requested, and it takes a lot of that manual checking and guessing out of the system. So the other thing that we identified to bring in was the program description and the justification. That's something that they might write a fresh one every time they did that, but they don't need to. Usually what they submit on the academic plan is far better than anything that they put on the implementation proposal. And so we had that go ahead and come over along with any accreditation that they may have noticed. We're hoping that that reduces the amount that they need to fill out, and then also helps get better content to our curriculum committees and those kind of things because they have access to that. So we have a long program form where they have lots more content to fill out for the purposes of our catalog and all of that. But another field that we brought in from the academic plan was their notes on fees. So this is just in our admin section. So this is only for our purposes, but it helps us track whether they have actually requested that program fee. If they said that they were going to do it, that they still are. So it just adds a layer of ability to check on those things. Let me get this going again.
And in the meantime, may I ask a question, Katie?
Yes, of course.
All right, so we have a question that came in that that Lindy had asked, Lindy Duff from the University of Utah. Is that name pulling up because you can now create a parent-child with the experience form?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that because it was just Kuali magic. They aren't really linked though, because one of the challenges that we have is, and I'm sure lots of institutions have that too, where the central record, the plan code in our case, isn't established until you implement it. So we're kind of dealing with like, it doesn't have a unique code. We're really only able to identify those names to make that the connection, right?
And does that answer your question, Lindy? And we'll go ahead and look as well, just to confirm on the parent-child relationship with the experience form. Yep, thank you. And then we have another question from Katie Sexton. So you showed that the text fields for the justification and labor market demand pulled in the text from the academic strategic plan. Is this more Kuali magic? How was that configured?
So that is Kuali magic. I do understand at least how that works a little bit, in that it's inherited from the academic plan form and brought over. And one of the cool things, and I already want to toggle out of this and show you, but I can't. Well, here's an example. But like the stuff that's brought in, again, through magic, you can edit that, which is really nice. So if they decide that they think that there's a better option than what they wrote in, so it's like inherited, but then it's editable. So it pulls over, but they can expand upon it and add whatever seems appropriate. So we really like that functionality.
And for now, those are the primary questions, and you can continue.
Okay. So this is just like a little screenshot of what it is. So, okay. So the essential results, and again, we've just started using it. I haven't had any negative feedback, so that's always a good thing. We know that this will help us improve accuracy because there is a level of human error when you're toggling between a spreadsheet and trying to review things. We've had changes and issues where it's, the difference of an article, like adding the and stuff like that. And that creates an issue with ABOR. When you're starting to deal with Board of Regents and stuff like that, you can't have those kind of issues. And ensuring that if somebody forgets to check the spreadsheet, it's really an approved action that really can go forward. So just removing that human error component and then being able to streamline our processes to, so people, I think it will help people understand the connection between the academic plan and their implementation proposal. I mean, people are always a little bit confused because they say, haven't I already done this before? But it's like, oh no, you haven't. We need to get that pre-approval done saying you should even try to start this. And then we ask you 800 questions and get all your catalog information and everything like that.
And Katie, we have two more questions that came in. The first one might be more for Joel. So James from the University of Victoria had mentioned that it would be great to implement a similar process like this at UVic, but we're already repurposing experiences, the content type. So is there any plan to add additional content types?
Yes, we will be adding additional content types to CM, but they'll be specific. So it won't be like a generic form that you can do whatever with. It'll be a specific type of, I don't want to list any of the specifics because you can talk to Sarah about that, but specific object types in CM that you'll be able to use and configure. In addition, though, we're creating much more linkages between build and CM. So like, for example, I showed the subject code option workflow tool where you'll be able to send subject codes through workflow. That's something you could do in build. So if you're looking to build more things like what Katie is showing you today, then you would be able to do that kind of thing in build and as much as you want.
And we are also build customers and crazily creating all kinds of different forms to supplement and support what we're doing in CM too.
Yeah, the difference is, thanks Katie, the difference is CM was never meant to be self-configured. So the form design tools are not, they don't have error checking built in. They're not a good user experience. There's no drag and drop. They're just not a good experience. That's what build was built for. So that's why we're suggesting customers use that for kind of arbitrary forms.
Okay, and then we have a question from Kara. So is your pre-approval process for an authorization to plan by the board, or do you apply for a board approval before the new program has even been approved through the curriculum approval process?
Yeah, so our academic strategic planning things, like basically, if you kind of think about the timeline, they can request pre-approval for a plan, and that happens at the beginning of the year. And then, so basically the provost will say, you can go forth with planning. And if you can go forth with planning, then you submit it to ABOR. We get final approval from ABOR, which is our Board of Regents. We've got final approval from the Board of Regents to move forward, and then you can submit the implementation proposal. We typically do not accept an implementation proposal unless we have documentation of either board approval or provost approval to move forward based on what type, because they only review degree types, but there, of course, there's all kinds of supplemental rules and stuff like that. It's only in the case of like extreme pressure from above do we review them in tandem.
And that's all the questions for now. Thank you.
Katie, I have my own question.
Yeah.
First of all, who won last night? Because I had to leave early, so I don't know who won the trivia game.
US. whatever
It was
those
the
folks
team
are.
of 4 Musketeers.
Oh, got it.
No, we lost. We lost by a half a point, didn't we?
Yes, it was a very close,
extremely.
very close finish.
Okay. Sorry about that. I was bummed that I had to go. I have a
there you go.
question. Thank you, Katie.
Uh-huh.
So this to me is a really elegant solution. I wonder if you had the ability within a course form or a program form to have a section of those forms that could go through their own independent workflow. And then once that got done with its workflow, then you could fill out the rest of the form. Would you rather do it the way you've done it here, or would you rather do it that other way?
I like both. I mean, I think this was available to us at the time, and we were pleased with that. I think having it separate makes sense, but it goes to like thinking about what the user experience is like. They don't understand that it's a pre-approval sometimes, and so that's something that we have to communicate to them. So I think there's value to that other approach.
Cool. Thank you.
So some of the other efficiencies gained, being able, I showed you that radio toggle where you can add a flag for admin use, so we can route the workflow. And so the intention is that if it has that Board of Regents flag, that it goes on a workflow branch that just kind of highlights to me as the kind of review leader for the academic plan that I need to hold it at that level until we receive that Board of Regents approval and I can move it forward. So it will help automate those things so we don't have quite the manual handling that we did before. And it's really going to help us tailor the review to go ahead. Like we can go ahead and have people get started on their implementation proposals. They don't have to wait until we get all of our ducks in a row. We can just push the button and move it along. And then we also set up notifications to let our online department know whether a program had expressed interest in offering the program online, and also budget and planning so that they know whether a fee request should be forthcoming for that program. So we opted to just make that a notification stage rather than an acknowledgement or anything like that, but hopefully keeping them more in the loop, which has been hard in the past. I've had to like go do the research in the spread, like, you know, manipulate data and then send them a big list as opposed to getting real-time notifications. So we're really excited about our pre-approval form. We were really pleased that we were able to come up with a good solution that allowed us to kind of identify a way to reimagine those content types so that we could get our strategic plan process really integrated into our Kuali system. I think it's really going to help not only with like making our lives easier to relieve that double checking, but then also having a one-stop shop in terms of like your pre-approval happens here and then your actual submission of your proposal happens here too. So we're excited about having that kind of centrally located because all of these processes do run separately, but also concurrently. Are there any other questions?
So it looks like there may be a question in the chat. From the chat component from Tim, who is at the University of Central Florida, does this form data interact with the SIS? And if so, what SIS does ASU use?
Oh, well, we're working on our integration. We are a PeopleSoft school. And so we are super excited about all the integrations that we have coming our way. The academic plan is independent of PeopleSoft. It kind of always has been, but our program forms are intended to be integrated with PeopleSoft. So like on this particular program form here, like we sync like the justification and we put it right to our catalog. So we'll be able to review real time here and push it into our catalog, which lives in PeopleSoft for us. So we do things a little different.
And I imagine that answers your question, Tim. It's a little harder to ask since your microphones are all muted, but please feel free to, oh, you said thanks. Okay, great. And then we do have a question from Lindy at Utah. So this one is for Joel. They would like to do that in the same form and build where they get pre-approved and then we allow them to fill out the rest of the form if approved.
Let me think about that. I need to read the question again. Y'all continue and I'll come back when I'm ready to answer it.
And are there any other questions that we can help with at this time?
I think Katie had another one, yeah?
Oh, did I miss one?
So, the question is, do external bodies, assuming ABOR is external, fit into your workflow? Does a representative from those bodies have a Kuali account, or is it done manually or outside of the system? We have opted not to include the Board of Regents and, well, let's talk about the Board of Regents first. We've opted not to include them, and it made more sense because, you know, they are the state, like, I don't know, the state body over our 3 state universities. And so that would be messy if we tried to add them. We have talked about, we have a partnership with the community colleges in our area, and we have talked about giving the community colleges access to Kuali so they could, because they review courses and stuff like that. So we've talked about that internally, but for this purposes of this, like, it's better for me to act as the representative from ABOR to say we received at this particular committee meeting, they all approved it, and now I'm gonna push all the ones that are approved forward. But if you have any follow-up questions that you think of after this session, feel free to reach out with email. I'm really happy to talk through anything, and I'm always eager to see what other people are doing as well. So thanks for sitting into my session. So the pro tip today is to consider the full process, who needs to be part of it, and what efficiencies you can gain, especially as you build your workflow and your form process.
Great. Thank you, Katie. We appreciate you presenting, and to just let everyone know, we do have another customer presentation that takes place on Thursday, and it's from James, and he will be leading a session on curriculum and calendar, or the catalog process, and that will be Thursday at 4:45 p.m. Eastern time. So thank you, and we hope to see you there.